The lore masters are pretty well known for being smart and using their innate knowledge to help the party. But what if we could do more than that? What if we could use our knowledge to help the party, but also buff them and debuff enemies? It's time for the Smart Singer. Let's dive in. For today's Ancestry and Heritage, we're going to go with the Seer Elf. This will give us Detect Magic as an innate cantrip, which means we don't have to pick it as one of our cantrips. In addition, we also get a +1 bonus to identify magic and to decipher writing of a magical nature. Both these abilities will really help the Lore Master side of this build. Those of you that have been with the channel for a while know that I usually cover background here. But I'm going to stop doing that because 90% of the time you can pick what you want. So from now on, I'm only going to go over background if there's a specific background that you need for a build. Which for this one, you can pick what you want, as long as you get the stats you need. And of course, if you haven't figured it out yet, we're going Bard for this build. And we'll be picking up the Maestro Muse for this build. We're not going to need the Enigma Muse because of the free archetype, which I'll get to at second level. And the Maestro Muse will give us access to some feats we're going to need for this build. The starting stats for this build should be Strength 10, Dexterity 16, Constitution 10, Intelligence 14, Wisdom 10, and Charisma 18. And of course, at first level, we get our Lingering Composition feat from our Maestro Muse. This lets us increase the duration of our composition cantrips in this build to 3 or even 4 rounds, depending on our performance check. And for our Ancestry feat at this level, we're going to take Ancestral Longevity. This gives us temporary proficiency in one skill of our choice each day. And keep in mind, any lore is a skill, so we can pick it with this feat. So if we have some idea what we're going to be running into that day, we can pick a lore skill that will give us a lower DC to recall knowledge on that subject. Or a recall knowledge skill that we're not trained in already. For my level 2 class feat, I went with Inspire Competence. Because we don't want to be the only one that's good at skills. We want to be able to help our allies with skills as well. And this will allow us to always use performance to aid allies. And if we're legendary in performance, which we are definitely going to be by the end of this, we automatically get a critical success. And of course, like all my builds, we are using the free archetype for this build, and we're going to go with the Lore Master dedication. We become trained in Lore Master lore, which is just like Bardic lore in that we can recall knowledge using it, but on any topic. If we are legendary in a skill that we use to decipher writing, such as occultism, become an expert in Lore Master lore, but we can't increase it by any other means. This is why we don't need the Enigma Muse for this build, as we're getting everything that the Enigma Muse would give us except the spell with this feat. And True Strike isn't that great of a spell to begin with anyway. For general feats at level 3, I would start with Adopted Ancestry for the Gnome Ancestry. We're going to be taking a couple of Gnome feats in this build, so we're going to need this. In addition, of course, you're going to want to take Canny Acumen for your Fortitude save, Die Hard, and Toughness. And for your final general feat, I would recommend taking Fleet for a bit more speed. For level 4, first I've gone with Combat Reading. This is what we'll use if our recall knowledge doesn't work, as this will allow us to use occultism for basically all of our recall knowledge checks. Granted, we can only find out certain information by using this, but most of it is the information that we would want to know anyway. And then on the free archetype side, we'll take Lore Master's Etude. This will give us the focus spell of the same name, allowing us or an ally to roll a recall knowledge check twice and take the better results. We want to use this focus spell on a recall knowledge check we absolutely need to get right, such as against a really tough enemy. And for our level 5 Ancestry feat, we're going to take Gnome Obsession. You especially want to take this if there's a theme in your campaign, as this will eventually give us legendary proficiency in 2 lore skills. One that we pick, and the one from our backgrounds. Obviously, what you pick here is going to depend on your campaign, and of course, which background you pick. But the real reason we want to take this feat is because it's a prerequisite for another feat we're going to take, but I'll get to that after the teamwork report. For teamwork report number 1, the strategy for this build is actually a little complicated, so pay attention. When combat breaks out, the first thing you're going to want to do is recall knowledge on each enemy type you're facing. If that doesn't work, that's what combat rating is for. Then you're going to want to put up Inspire Courage or another composition cantrip. And for your third action on the first round, you can cast a 1-action spell, you can move, or you can intimidate a foe. After that, you're going to want to sustain any compositions you have up, and probably cast a spell. But if you need to move, move. This build definitely does not want to be in melee. And of course, anytime you feel like it, you can use Lingering Composition to keep a composition up for longer. For spells for this build, you're going to pick your basic bard spells. Buff and debuff spells mainly. This build is not about doing damage. Like most bards, you want to debuff enemies and buff allies to make it easier for your allies to do whatever it is they want to do. At level 6, we'll want to take Dirge of Doom, so we can frighten enemies when intimidation doesn't work. Then we'll want to take Quick Study, so we can temporarily be trained in any one lore skill of our choice, assuming we have interacted with that subject in the last day. Inspire Heroics will make our Inspire Courage better, and Assured Knowledge will basically give us assurance in every recall knowledge skill we have. And we can take automatic knowledge even if we don't have assurance in the skill in question, as long as we are an expert in that skill. For our level 9 Ancestry feat, we're going to take Eclectic Obsession, giving us temporary training in another lore skill, because you never know when you might need more than one lore. Then at level 10, we'll take Ode to Ouroboros to keep our allies alive. And then we'll take our second dedication, the Eldritch Researcher dedication. We will sometimes want to attack with this build, so we want to pick a Arcane Attack cantrip for this dedication. We also get expert in our choice of Arcana or Occultism, if we weren't already expert in both. And we get a +1 to that skill when investigating or identifying magic. Then we'll take Enigma's Knowledge. This gives us automatic knowledge in every recall knowledge skill that we have. Next up is Know-It-All, giving us more information when we succeed or critically succeed at recall knowledge. For our level 13 Ancestry feat, we'll take Expert Longevity. So when we use Ancestral Longevity, we become trained in an untrained skill and expert in a trained skill. In addition, when Ancestral Longevity expires, we can retrain one of our skill increases. So we can spend an extra action on Inspire Courage to give us and our allies temporary hit points. And then Lore Finder will let us cast Locate as an innate spell once a day, allowing the party to find objects that they may need. Inspirational Focus will let us get 2 focus points back instead of 1 whenever we refocus. And True Hypercognition will let us do 5 recall knowledge actions at one time. For our last Ancestry feat, of course we're going to go with Universal Longevity. This lets us change our skills that we picked for Ancestral Longevity and Expert Longevity once a day. At level 18, it's time for Eternal Composition. So we are now permanently quickened, but we can only use the extra action to cast a composition cantrip that takes 1 action to cast. So that's Inspire Courage, Inspire Competence, and Dirge of Doom. And then on the free archetype side, we're going to go with Entities from Afar. This allows us to cast Summon Entity as an occult innate spell once a day. But instead of giving commands, we can ask it a question. This is our last resort. If we don't know something, maybe an entity from another universe would. At level 20, we'll take Fatal Aria, allowing us to auto-kill lower-level enemies and do lots of damage to higher-level enemies. And the last feat for this build is going to be Strange Script, allowing us to read text that we normally wouldn't be able to. For Teamwork Report number 2, the strategy is pretty much the same here, except now you can do these in any order you want. But you should still focus on recall knowledge, your compositions, and your spells. Those are going to be your main 3 options. Of course, intimidation is always good. But if that doesn't work, Dart of Doom is always an option as well. But of course, be sure to let your allies know what you find out about with your recall knowledge checks. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, and don't forget to check out the Patreon page if you want a Google Sheet for this build and a bunch of other builds. If you're looking for a build that can use any scroll in the game, however, you can check out this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, teamwork is vital. I'll see you guys in the next video.